Good morning, Live Activated group. I hope you are having a great Sunday morning. So, welcome. My name's Sandra Santoro. For those of you that I haven't met or are new to the group, welcome to our group. Every Sunday morning at around this time, I'm going to come in and do some live training on a variety of different topics, and hopefully that will help you in implementing them in your own life. So sorry I've come in a little bit late today. I was dropping off children to certain places, etc. their day. Sometimes the kids have better social life than I do. So if you are joining me live, please say hello. And if I don't know you, say where you're from and where you're watching. And if you're catching the replay, make sure you pop in hashtag replay so I can come back later and answer any questions that you might have after the live. Now, because we have a little bit of a delay, I will pause a bit, make sure that I'm answering people's questions or anything that might come up, comments as I go through this. So again, thank you and welcome. So today's topic is about setting boundaries. This is a really juicy topic, okay? So what I want to talk about first is boundaries. How do you feel when you have boundaries? How do you feel when you have no boundaries? Hey, Deb. So let's think about boundaries. What are they, first of all? Boundaries are all about where you feel comfortable, what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. Okay. And it's interesting. Well, for me, what I've noticed is that as I've gotten older, I've been a lot more able to set my boundaries with more confidence and more assertiveness compared to when I was younger. And we're going to unpack that a little bit and see why that actually happens. Hey, Kim, if you're popping on, say hello for me so I know that you're there. So let's talk about what it feels like if you have boundaries set in place. So if anyone knows how they feel with their boundaries that are working for them, pop some ways you're feeling about that in the comments. So I know that for me, when we have clear boundaries, we're able to say no to things. And this seems to be the biggest thing for people, being able to say no. Saying no is really hard sometimes. And I'll why later. But being able to say no means you've got some boundaries set for yourself. Also, you're kind of being a bit, it's not selfishness, it's being resourceful selfishness, okay? When you say no to certain things. You also have a more assertive, higher self-esteem. You value yourself and you have that self-respect when you're able to put boundaries in place, okay? And you're having that healthy relationship with yourself. Hi, Avril. The other thing is when you set boundaries is that you are having a voice, okay? You being able to say clearly what you will tolerate and what you will not, and what you will say yes to and what you will not, okay? And it gives you a bit of that sense of freedom and a bit of control and I guess power over your life, how you spend your time, all right? It also allows you, hi Christy, it also allows you to have that bit of a sense of vulnerability. And what do I mean when I say that? When you're able to set boundaries in place, you can feel more. Okay, you can feel into things that you want to experience a lot more. All right, so setting boundaries and having those boundaries will help you to feel those things, and it feels good and it feels light. If you don't have boundaries, what does it mean if you don't have boundaries? How do you normally feel? Well, you're always saying yes to things, okay? You're a yes person, yes to everything, even if it puts you out of place or it, you have to change your whole routine or schedule because you find it hard to say no. Where does that saying no come from? Well, it actually saying yes, come from. Well, it actually comes from the fact of how we've been brought up. If you as a child, and this is by no means saying that any parenting that you've had or anything like that is incorrect or anything at all, or having a go at our parents do the best that they can at the time. But it's when we're told that we can't do things or we can't say no to things as children, we then develop this, I guess, belief that saying no to things that don't align with us or feel good for us is actually wrong and is not actually good to say no. So we develop this, which causes us then, the spin-off to that, which causes us is to actually say yes to everything. All right, so it's really important to start saying no. And eventually, yeah, it is hard at first. Look, I know with my own experiences, when I first started to put boundaries in place with my parents and my family, because I was very much a yes person, very much you can't say no, especially to family, it was hard. It was hard. But what you need to do is keep reminding yourself why you are putting these boundaries in place, okay? And what are you doing it for? You're doing it for your own resourceful selfishness and self-preservation. But it's also allowing people to know what your boundaries are, to know that you cannot be disrespected, you cannot have your boundaries pushed, you cannot be not heard, all right? So it's really important to start learning and practicing, and even when it feels uncomfortable, and it will feel uncomfortable to start off with, to start saying no. But you've got to push past that uncomfortableness. And the more that you do this, the more that you start to feel better about saying no and keeping your boundaries for what works for you and what you're going to tolerate and accept. Just keep doing it, keep practicing it, especially if it's good for you, okay? So what I was talking about was, how does it feel if you don't have boundaries, right? So you do feel that disrespected, you feel that lower self-esteem, you feel like you have no voice. You might feel really low in energy and burnt out because you're running around doing everything for everybody. Hey, Tara. It is so crucial, guys, to really get the self-awareness around your boundaries, all right? So how do we do this? We've got to sit down and ask ourselves the question, okay? We know what it feels like to have boundaries. We know what it feels like to not have boundaries, okay? We know that our boundaries, if we're a yes person, okay, comes from how we've been brought up and what we've been told as kids, that we can't say no to things. And we know that when we first start setting these boundaries, it's really, really hard. But it's like anything. It's a muscle you have to practice. You got to keep working on it. Keep reminding yourself, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for this reason. Okay? How do we start? We start by asking ourselves this question. What am I happy to tolerate and what am I not? And you make your list. So your yes list and your no list. What are you not happy to tolerate? What are you happy to tolerate? And think about those moments in your life that you know people have overstepped their boundaries. Think about how that made you feel and ask yourself, am I willing to continue having that boundary overstepped? And if you're not, then you need to start saying no. Start having a voice. Start taking that power back, taking that control back. So that first question, what are you willing to accept and tolerate? Okay? And how do you set them is the second question. How does it make you feel? What's that internal compass telling you? Does it feel good or does it feel bad? All right? This is where you start. And then you practice, okay? And you practice and you practice and you practice. And then when it gets hard, you say, why am I doing this? Because believe me, it does. When I first start to put boundaries in place, and it took me a good 40-something years to do this with my family and my parents especially, that you need to, you feel guilty at first. You feel those feelings of guilt because you think it's your responsibility to make them feel good and to say yes to everything that they ask of you. But it's not. Okay? And you need to remind yourself in those moments why you're saying no. And don't rush into saying yes straight away because it's a habit. If you get asked to do something and you automatically will feel like, oh, really? I don't know about that. Listen to that intuition. Okay? Your body's telling you, this does not align with me. This does not feel good. Okay? And be okay with saying no. Say, yeah, no, that doesn't really suit me, or I don't really feel comfortable about talking about this right now. Okay? And it does get better with practice. But you need to start doing it. You need to take that first step in order to make those changes and start setting those boundaries for yourself. All right, I've given you a lot of information there. Please go back and have a look at that again, watch the replay, make some notes for yourself, but start with those few key questions to help you start to set boundaries. And this can be in your personal life, in your professional life. It can be with your partner, with your kids, okay? And I guess another thing to highlight is that often we do say no to our kids all the time, or we say things like, don't say no to me. Or if I ask you to do something, you need to say yes. And that's a real parent thing to say. And sometimes we need to give a reason for why, so that the kids understand, yes, okay, I understand that you do not want to do this and that you don't feel comfortable about doing this, but this is the reason I'm asking you to do this. Okay, because so they understand that, yes, they can say no, but there's a reason sometimes that we need to do things that we don't want to do. Because sometimes there is in life. So just be aware of those few things. So just to recap, and thank you those people that were watching. And if you have any questions or comments, please pop them up now so I can refer back to you. Otherwise, I will come back later. So we talked about how do boundaries feel when you have them in place, how good it makes you feel. How does it feel when we don't have them in place? We talked about why you're a yes person all the time. We also talked about how we start setting boundaries and what questions we need to ask ourselves in order to start placing those boundaries. And the fact that we need to really listen to our intuition and feelings about how it feels. Okay, and you'll know whether it is aligned with you or not. All right, beautiful ladies. Thank you for jumping on. I hope that you got some value out of that. I hope that you can put that into practice in your lives. Let me know how it goes. And I will see you again in the group next Sunday morning for our next topic, which is all about self-care tips. So I will see you then. Bye.